The crystal glass felt cold in my hand. Around me, expensive perfume mixed with fake laughter. And I tried to smile like I belonged. The dining room sparkled with chandeliers and polished silverware. Everything screamed wealth, tradition, control. His mother stood tapping her glass with a silver spoon. The room went silent. "To my son," she began, voice smooth as silk. "A brilliant man with a brilliant future." She paused, turning to me. Her smile changed. Something sharp moved behind her eyes. Some women lift a man up, others drag him down. The room shifted. "Mila, you don't belong in our world. You're not good enough for our son." Laughter rippled through the table. Nervous, uncertain, but still laughter. I looked at him, my fiancé, the man who claimed he loved me. He stared at his plate, said nothing, did nothing. His silence crushed me more than her words ever could. Later in the driveway, I heard her whisper to someone, "He'll thank us later." My name is Mila Rowan, and that was the moment everything changed. I slipped the engagement ring off my finger. My hand shook as I placed the ring in his palm. It felt lighter than it should have. "If you can't defend me," I said quietly, "you don't deserve me." He blinked, shocked. "Mila, wait. Don't do this. She didn't mean it that way." "Yes, she did. She's just protective. You know how mothers are." I stepped back. "I know how you are. And that's worse." He reached for my hand, but it felt performative. Like he was more worried about disappointing his mother than losing me. "Please, we can work this out." "No," I said. "We can't." I turned and walked toward the door. My legs felt weak, but I didn't stop. Behind me, I heard him call my name once. Just once. Outside, his mother stood near the entrance, arms crossed. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The smirk on her face said everything. She thought she'd won. The messages started the next morning. Screenshots flooded my phone from people I barely knew. Someone had already posted about the breakup. She thought she could marry up. Pathetic. My chest burned. Humiliation wrapped around my throat like a fist. I wanted to scream, to cry, to disappear. But instead, I sat on my bed and stared at the ceiling. My best friend called. "Are you okay?" "No," I whispered. "But I will be." Believed myself. My phone buzzed again. Another comment. Another stranger's opinion about my worth. I threw the phone across the room and pulled my knees to my chest. Later that evening, my dad knocked softly on my door. He sat beside me without saying anything for a long time. Finally, he asked, "So, what are you going to do now?" I looked at him. "I don't know yet." But something inside me was already shifting. I cried for 3 days. Not the helpless kind of crying. The breaking open kind. The kind that clears space for something new. On the 4th day, I woke up and decided something. I wasn't going to let them define me. Not her, not him. Not the people whispering behind screens. I pulled out my laptop and opened the application I'd saved months ago. Graduate program. Business strategy. I'd been too scared to apply before. Scared of failing. Scared of being too ambitious. Not anymore. I filled out every section carefully. Wrote my essay in one sitting. Hit submit before I could change my mind. 2 weeks later, I got the acceptance email. My hands shook as I read it. Then I smiled. Really smiled. For the first time since the breakup. That same afternoon, my old boss called. "I heard what happened." "I'm sorry," she paused. "But I have something small if you're interested. Unpaid for now, but it's a start." I didn't hesitate. "I'll take it." The internship was exhausting. I worked late nights, studied between shifts, and survived on coffee and stubbornness. People underestimated me. They saw a girl recovering from heartbreak, not someone building a foundation. But I didn't need them to see it yet. Effort doesn't lie. Slowly, people started noticing. My ideas worked. My strategies delivered results. My boss began CCing me on important emails. Grief became discipline. Heartbreak became fuel. One evening, I was leaving the office when my phone buzzed. A notification. A mutual friend had posted something. I almost didn't open it, but I did. The photo showed my ex, smiling, his arm around someone new, someone polished, someone from their world. The caption read, "Finally found the one." My chest tightened. But only for a moment. Then I put my phone away and kept walking. He'd moved on. So would I. Months passed. I finished my first term with honors. My internship turned into a paid position. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again. Not the version of me that wanted to fit into his world. The version that belonged to mine. Then I saw her. It was a fundraiser. I was there representing my company. She was there representing hers. Our eyes met across the room. She looked away quickly, pretending not to see me. But someone important recognized me first. A senior executive I'd worked with. He shook my hand warmly, asked about my progress, congratulated me publicly. She noticed. When he left, she approached. Her smile was tight, forced. Still trying, I see. I met her eyes calmly. No, I'm building. She frowned, confused. Like she couldn't process the idea that I'd become something without her son. I excused myself and walked away. That night, I slept better than I had in months. 3 weeks later, everything shifted. I was at my desk when my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer. Mila? The voice was shaking. It's about him. There was an accident. My stomach dropped. He was gone. The next few days blurred. Shock, confusion, numbness. Didn't know what to feel. Grief for the man I once loved. Relief that I wasn't still tied to him. Guilt for feeling relief. Then I saw her post. He loved only one woman, Mila. My phone exploded. Messages, condolences, strangers acting like I was the widow. It felt wrong, dirty. Then she called me sobbing. Please, come to the funeral. He would have wanted you there. I didn't know if that was true, but I said yes anyway. The funeral was suffocating. People whispered as I entered, eyes following me like I was part of the tragedy. His mother clung to my arm, pulling me to the front row like I belonged there. I didn't. I sat through the service in silence. People spoke about him like he was a saint. Maybe he was to them. To me, he was the man who chose silence over love. Afterward, his mother held my hand tightly. Thank you for coming. He loved you so much. I wanted to scream, to remind her of the toast, of the cruelty, of the silence. But grief makes people complicated. So I just nodded and left early. As I reached my car, someone approached. A man in a suit. Ms. Rowan? I'm his attorney. He left something for you. My heart stopped. The letter was handwritten. His handwriting. Messy, familiar, painful. Mila, I should have defended you. I was weak. I let them control me because I was scared of losing them. But I lost you instead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I cried. Not for what we could have been, but for the apology I never got while he was alive. An apology shouldn't come from a grave. A week later, his mother called again. We'd like to meet. To talk about everything. I hesitated. Why? Because we need to make things right. I agreed, partly out of curiosity. Partly because I wanted to see if they'd finally tell the truth. They sat across from me in a quiet cafe. His father? His mother. Both looked older, smaller somehow. We want you to know, his mother began carefully, that he loved you deeply. And we always supported it. I stared at her. The audacity was breathtaking. No, I said quietly. You didn't. She blinked. Mila, you told me I wasn't good enough. In front of everyone. And he said nothing. Silence fell like a wall between us. His father shifted uncomfortably. We were wrong. We see that now. You see it now because he's gone, I said. Not because you believed it. I stood up. I'm sorry for your loss, but I can't rewrite history to make you feel better. I left them sitting there, stunned. I stopped responding to their messages. I stopped attending events where they might be. I focused entirely on myself, and it worked. I graduated with honors. My boss promoted me. I started leading projects, making decisions, earning respect I'd never had before. For the first time in my life, I felt enough. Not because someone validated me, because I validated myself. One afternoon, my boss called me into her office. Mila, have you ever thought about starting your own company? I froze. What? She smiled. You're ready, I see it. The question is, do you? I didn't answer right away. But that night, I opened my laptop and started drafting a business plan. Fear battled excitement every single day. But I chose courage. I pitched to investors. Some laughed. Some listened. One believed. 6 months later, I signed my first contract. My dad cried when I told him. Not sad tears. Proud ones. You did it, he whispered. We did it, I corrected. Later that evening, I reviewed my client list. My heart stopped at the last name. His family's company. They didn't know yet. The proposal had gone through a third party, but soon they would. And I had a choice to make. Their call came 2 days later. Professional, desperate, polite. We're looking for strategic consultation. Your proposal was impressive. We'd like to move forward. They didn't recognize my company name. Didn't connect the dots. I could have walked away, declined, avoided the confrontation entirely. But something stopped me. Maybe it was closure. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the chance to show them exactly who I'd become. I'd be happy to meet, I said calmly. Wonderful. When are you available? Next Tuesday. 2 o'clock. Perfect. We'll see you then. I hung up and exhaled slowly. This was going to be interesting. They arrived exactly on time. His mother. His father? 2 executives I didn't recognize. They entered the conference room expecting a stranger. I sat with my back to the door reviewing notes. When they settled, I turned my chair slowly. Her face drained of color. Hello, I said evenly. Still think I don't belong? The room went silent, thick, shaking. His father recovered first, clearing his throat awkwardly. Mila, we didn't realize. Clearly. His mother's hands trembled slightly. This is unexpected. For you, maybe. I gestured to the chairs. Please, sit, let's talk business. They sat stiff and uncertain. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. And I intended to use it wisely. I presented my strategy calmly, professionally, no emotion. No cruelty, just facts. Their company was hemorrhaging money. Poor decisions, outdated systems, leadership gaps. I could fix it. But it would require trust. And cooperation. Can you do that? I asked, looking directly at his mother. She swallowed hard. Yes. Good, then we have terms to discuss. I laid them out clearly. Fair but firm. Boundaries, expectations, timelines. They agreed to everything. Not because they wanted to. Because they had no choice. As the meeting ended, his mother lingered. Mila, please. Have mercy. I looked at her for a long moment. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to do my job. If that benefits you, good. But I'm not doing this for you. She nodded, eyes glistening. I left without looking back. My strategies worked. Brilliantly. Within 3 months, their revenue stabilized. Within 6, it grew. People inside the company started noticing. So did people outside. Industry leaders began reaching out. Conferences invited me to speak. Publications asked for interviews. I was becoming someone people took seriously. One morning, a journalist called. We're doing a feature on emerging business leaders. Your name came up repeatedly. Would you be interested? I hesitated. Publicity meant exposure. Exposure meant vulnerability. But hiding felt like shame, and I had nothing to be ashamed of. Yes, I said. I'm interested. The interview published 3 weeks later. The headline went viral. From rejection to industry leader, Mila Rowan's rise. The article detailed my journey. The breakup. The heartbreak. The decision to rebuild. It didn't name his family directly, but anyone who knew the story connected the dots. My phone exploded. Messages of support, congratulations, interview requests. And one message that stood out. From her. I read the article. I'm so proud of you. And so sorry. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted to respond with everything I'd been holding back. But instead, I just replied, okay. We met 2 days later. She looked smaller than I remembered, tired, older. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. I nodded. I was wrong, she began, voice shaking. I was cruel. I let pride and fear control me. I ruined my relationship with my son because I couldn't see past my own arrogance. I listened, not interrupting. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know, I see you now. I see what you've become, and I'm ashamed it took this long. Tears ran down her face. I exhaled slowly. I appreciate you saying that. Can we... She hesitated. Can we be family? The question hung in the air. I thought carefully before answering. No, I said gently. But we can be respectful. She nodded, devastated but understanding. I don't need your approval anymore, I continued. I don't need your validation or your acceptance. I needed that once. But I built something without it. She wiped her eyes. I know. But I don't hate you either. I just don't need you. She inhaled shakily. That's fair. We sat in silence for a moment. Not comfortable, but honest. When I left, something inside me unclenched. Not forgiveness exactly, but release. That night, my dad hugged me tightly. You didn't win, he said softly. You grew. He was right. I visited his grave one quiet afternoon. No cameras, no witnesses, just me. I stood there for a long time, hands in my pockets, watching the wind move through the trees. I loved you, I said aloud, but I love myself more now. It felt strange saying it, but true. You taught me something important. That silence is a choice, and I'll never choose it again. I placed flowers on the stone, not out of obligation, out of closure. As I turned to leave, I noticed someone nearby, an older woman tending another grave. She looked up and smiled knowingly. Letting go is the hardest part, she said gently. I smiled back. Yeah, but it's worth it. Months passed. My company grew. My confidence grew. I started saying yes to things I would have been too scared to try before, including coffee with someone new. His name was Aaron. A colleague introduced us at a networking event. He was kind, thoughtful, present. We talked for hours. About work, about life, about nothing and everything. Can I see you again? He asked as we left. I smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. It wasn't rushed. Wasn't desperate. Just possibility. A few weeks later, his mother's assistant called. She'd like to invite you to speak at the company anniversary event. I paused. Why me? Because you represent resilience and growth, and she thinks people need to hear your story. I thought about it, then agreed. The auditorium was packed. Employees, executives, stakeholders. I stood at the podium where I once stood ashamed. But now I stood powerful. I spoke about resilience, about self-worth, about choosing people who choose you, about the danger of letting others define your value. The room was silent, listening, absorbing. When I finished, they stood. The applause rolled through the room like a wave. His mother was in the front row, crying, but this time quietly, honestly. Afterward, she approached. Thank you. I nodded. You're welcome. She didn't ask for more, and I didn't offer it. But something had shifted. Not reconciliation. Just peace. Their company stabilized fully, but only because of my work, my strategies, my leadership. People now looked to me for direction. Decisions that used to be made by his mother now went through me first. I became the anchor, the foundation, the one they once rejected. One afternoon, legal called. We'd like to discuss making you a partial owner. Your contributions have been invaluable. I read the contract carefully. Fair terms, real equity, genuine respect. I signed. His mother was there when I did. She didn't speak, just watched. When I looked up, she said quietly, I'm proud of you. I didn't need to hear it, but I appreciated that she said it. There was no screaming, no public humiliation, no dramatic revenge, just silence, the kind that settles when reality becomes undeniable. They needed me more than I ever needed them. His mother's final words to me came in a handwritten note. I'm sorry for seeing your worth too late. I folded the note and put it away. Not as a trophy, just as a reminder. People will always underestimate you until you prove them wrong. And even then, some will resent your growth. But their opinions don't define your value. You do. I left the building that evening with my head high. The same hallways that once felt suffocating now felt familiar. Not home, but conquered. My career was thriving. My heart was healing. My future was open. The family that once mocked me now went quiet whenever my name was mentioned. Out of respect. Out of regret. Maybe both, but it didn't matter anymore. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their validation. I didn't need them at all. I'd built something they could never take from me, my own worth. As I drove home, I thought about that toast. The one that broke me. The one that changed everything. They said I wasn't good enough for their son. Now they beg for my approval. But the truth is simple, clear, and finally mine. I don't need theirs.